We
Welcome to Lab Life with the Air Force Research Laboratory.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Kenneth. Today we are joined by Mr. Darrell Phillipson, the Vice Director of AFRL's Human Performance Wing. He's gone from tightening bolts on nuclear missiles to finding advantages for battlefield airmen.
In 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Phillipson, thank you for joining us today. From what we've heard, you not only know where Batman is, but you have a pretty interesting job here, the 711th Human Performance Wing. Can you tell us kind of how you got to this point and what led you here?
Yeah, this is a great organization to be a part of. I'll tell you more about that later, but how did I get here? Kind of a crazy path, and I'll try to go through quick. But I started out enlisted when I graduated from high school. Never really considered going to college at all, to be honest. Maybe a non-traditional path is what you'll hear is, but I worked on nuclear missiles, on peacekeeper missiles for a couple of years for the Air Force. And then they ended up sending me to the Air Force Academy and then on to get my master's at Arizona State before I landed for my first officer job in the lab. So I was in directed energy. At the time, it was part of Phillips Lab down at Kirtland Air Force Base, and now it's AFRL DE. While I was there, I worked a lot on advanced optics and imaging, space situational awareness, kind of satellite vulnerability analysis, mostly space technologies, even though I was in the directed energy directorate. After that, I had a change of life as my family needed my help, and I got out of the Air Force to care for my dad for a little while and went out into the contractor community. Moved to Phoenix, Arizona, worked for Spectrum Astro, a really small business building satellites, but still serving the Air Force in that capacity. And after working that for a few years, I took a departure, maybe a midlife crisis, jumped away from engineering altogether, which at that time in my life, I think a few people were scratching their head on what was happening there, but did some financial planning. That ended up kind of being a changer, a turner in my life that probably led me here. And but after about a year, I realized that financial planning wasn't quite what I was thinking. It did teach me some things, but I wanted to get back into working the technologies and working with the Air Force. So I started working for Lockheed Martin for a few years, eventually coming back in as a civilian, doing portfolio management, bringing in the financial aspect, the industry experience, and my engineering background. And then I've been here since about 2007. Been in headquarters AFRL, headquarters AFMC, ran our research, computing, and collaboration directorate for the lab, and then here in the 711th.
So you've had quite the storied career.
Yeah.
Kind of breaking that apart a bit then, what would you say back when you were enlisted? What is kind of the biggest takeaway you had working with the Air Force?
Yeah, that was an interesting time, because you don't have the sight picture that I do now, obviously. But really having the background and be able to look back and understand what it really takes for the airmen to go out in the field and pull a day working on, in my case, the peacekeeper missiles. It would be an 18-hour day, and I did about 30 minutes worth of work.
Oh, wow.
And so anything that we can do now that looks at that whole chain of what an airman has to do and optimizes that airman's not only individual performance, but the whole efficiency of that job. It'd be 6 hours driving out to a site and 6 hours back, 3 hours to get down into the site, 3 hours to back out, so all the time adds up. So anything that we can do, especially from the 711th perspective, to look at that whole airman's job and look at optimizing the airman's time.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing here with the 711th is what its name is, human performance. So you say that background really has shown you, because you've lived it, how to not only make it more efficient, but how to make sure you monitor the airmen to ensure they have that mental acuteness and ensure that they are in a healthy state while they work.
I value my background in actually having sat there and turned the wrench, and a lot of times I think we don't get a chance to work with our operators enough to understand that. So just having even that little bit of background in history myself, I think helps me bring that perspective in.
And going to the next stage then, when you became more of a financial planner, you mentioned, and even working with Lockheed Martin with portfolio management, how has that helped your job now from that aspect of your career?
Yeah, I mean, that was, like I said, the midlife crisis that paid off, right? I guess probably had I not taken a departure there, I was doing well and loving a more pure engineering and program management. But it really kind of broadened me out, where I looked across all the Lockheed Martin programs, started looking at all proposals across the engineering volume and the cost volume, because now I had that kind of that inkling or that understanding of the financial side, and it helped elevate my view or increase my sight picture of how small businesses, large businesses, organizations such as 7-Elevens operate. And I think that's what kind of turned the tide for me and helps me in my current job.
And with all those in mind then, would you say there's any, you kind of touched on a few, but specific skill sets or maybe just one that you really pull from the most?
For the 7-Eleventh, my specific skill set is not medical, which surprises a lot of people. You heard my background, and you're not going to see that I have a great medical background. However, with the engineering and acquisition background, it's just a great mix. The way they've set it up here at the 7-Eleventh is our commander is always from the medical community. So it makes a great coupling there. It's hard to put your finger on like a specific skill. I kind of step back again, and I think that's the skill, is the ability to step back. It's to be able to look at the fact that there's no perfect plan. You know, as I went through life, I couldn't have mapped this career path. I couldn't map my each individual job or my life path, but be able to step back and kind of like stay true to some things like work hard and do the right thing. Could not have mapped out the path, but wherever you are, you know, you work hard, do the right thing, be prepared, and be willing to accept opportunity when it comes along. And it's amazing what the Air Force has been able to do for me, and what you can do for the Air Force by following a couple of principles. And I think those are the things that I kind of hold on to.
And you mentioned some of the unique structure of the Human Performance Wing. So the 7-Eleven Human Performance Wing is part of the Air Force Research Laboratory. What's unique about your mission? What do you provide for our warfighters?
I was given a briefing to industry earlier this year, and I was preparing for it. And the person that was helping me prepare heard me say the word unique about probably 50 times in my presentation preparation. Bless her, but finally she said, "You should get a thesaurus." Because, but now I see other people giving the briefing, and unique is just a good word for the 7-Eleven Human Performance Wing. And the reason is we are a one-of-a-kind wing in the Air Force. There is nowhere that brings together the medical, the technology. We have around 2,200 people, over 70 different disciplines, everything from every type of engineering to medical to program managers, and to have that all under one hat, all under the research lab, and being able to tie back out to the rest of the research lab and partner with LCMC and our operators. I think that's what we bring to the Air Force, is the ability to solve multidimensional, complex problems for the Air Force when they have nowhere else to turn. Things like having unexplained physiological events with our pilots, where they're not sure what's going on. You know, people are having these events. It's something to do with the body. It's something to do maybe with the oxygen system. They're just not sure where can they go. The wing has the capability to bring all those experts to bear, to reach out to industry, to reach out to the operators and the acquisition agencies, and bring all those disciplines together to solve those complex problems. I think that's what the wing brings to the Air Force.
Are there any other, besides the unexplained physiological events, that stuff we're working on that really excites you?
Yeah, earlier I talked about being in directed energy, so this one is one of my favorites, just because it harkens to a little bit of my background. We have a group down at the Tri-Service Research Lab in Joint Base San Antonio that does directed energy bioeffects. Now, they're not the lasers folks that are designing the lasers, but they're the folks that are looking at what are the effects of those lasers, whether it's used offensively or defensively if somebody's using it on us, effects on the body. You know, everything down to from a molecular to a cellular to tissue to organ to a whole organism. What is the effect of those lasers? A lot of times people think right away just the effect on the eyes for blinding or whatever, and they do that as well, but it's really the effects on the whole body. They're a DoD unique capability. Anybody that's putting lasers out there, whether it's for laser rangefinders or anything out there in the battle space, goes through our lab down there is kind of a clearinghouse to look at what's the performance and what could it do to our troops out there.
And with these, are you given the chance to do you visit the labs and kind of get a feel hands-on, or do you have people more come to you and say, hey, this is what we're working on?
I get a lot of the briefings, of course.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely have an opportunity to get out and see the organizations, see the work that's being done. I've been down there to TSRL. A lot of times I end up on tours with everybody else, right? Because we have a lot of folks that want to come through and see what AFRL does for the Air Force. Another one of the interesting technologies is, and this one always started scaring me when I first heard about it, but it's the cranial stimulation, so brain stimulation. I don't know if you all already had a talk on this. Did you do one?
We've had some other researchers for the 711th. I know our Kevin Schmidt that climbed the mountain to do some research on cognitive function at altitude in oxygen-deprived environments. I know that he's personally had, hooked up to have his brain stimulated, and he was even possibly more energetic than he always is. But
so your listeners can listen to that one as well.
Yeah.
And I won't go into it big, but it's just when I started hearing that, I'm like, wow, that's the kind of thing that we're actually looking at. How do you stimulate a nerve that then stimulates the right part of the brain that can do things like, they've seen like 4 times improvement in test scores.
Oh, wow.
With training following some of the experiments, about 20% enhancement in attention. So you think about, now we're doing the research, but if this, kind of pans out, what could we do to truly kind of give our airmen an edge? And of course, we want to do that safely, which is also what we look at.
So the applications of that would say, so you maybe had an Intel analyst, and they're scanning documents or reading or someone's monitoring your screen. That's very tedious. Their ability to focus and concentrate really impacts someone's safety or our mission. But so it's possible, like brain stimulation, if it makes them more alert longer, then you could get better quality, or is that the goal?
Some of the applications just like that, maybe right as the operator's doing their job, but also in the training arena. As we bring people through training and try to do customized training, is there ways that we can increase their absorption of new knowledge and improve the way we train our people so that then they can do their job better when they do get deployed.
Now, all the law school students are going to want to...
Yeah, give a try at this. Help me by test scores.
Right? Yeah.
That's fascinating. And again, this is something that you've seen this tested hands-on and kind of gotten a feel for?
I haven't seen any of the actual testing. I've been to the lab, I've seen the equipment.
Yeah.
Reviewed the protocols, because we do want to make sure that we're being safe and we're watching out for our airmen.
Absolutely. And something we've kind of broached on here, mentioning parts of your job, can you kind of give us a day-to-day, like what you see here, if there really is a day-to-day you can go through?
Unfortunately, I don't get into the lab, that much. A lot of my day-to-day is very at the strategic level, and it's making sure that I help to bust down barriers and find the right funding and do the right messaging so that we can get support for the wing to do the right thing for the Air Force. So a lot of interface with AFRL headquarters as well as outside organizations and agencies.
So you do very much, you said at the larger level, ensure a lot of this research and the work gets done effectively. So you're kind of there backing up these researchers.
Right. So the wing is made up of 3 mission organizations. So at the wing level, it's really the care and feeding and ensuring that those mission organizations can concentrate on the mission. Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal to be part of an organization and see that work being done and know that you're enabling that and you're providing the top cover and ensuring that work can continue to get done. And that's in the research realm and the education realm, the consultation realm, the application of technology, which we do in some of our human systems integration and BOMC work. And so that's what I do kind of day to day.
Kind of tying in then to your career and what you do day to day, I know something we kind of talked to you about beforehand is that work-life balance, which has been a very big thing that's come up with a lot of airmen recently, especially this year. What recommendations or what advice do you have for people that may feel either they're overworked or may need more time to themselves?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that. Because in any job, you can get very, very wrapped up either through pure passion or stress, and it's hard to find the elusive work-life balance. Easy to say the words work-life balance. Well, easy for you. I think I just stumbled trying to say it, but elusive to find. But I think it's critical. You're going to have ups and downs throughout your life, throughout your career, throughout your relationships, and finding that some type of work-life balance is so critical. I have 3 kids. I've been married for about 18 years, and I've had, as you can hear in my background, several jobs in the last decade or so, and definitely could find myself being or losing that work-life balance. What I found is it's just really important to step back every year or so and think the big picture. And I guess I keep kind of hammering on the big picture because you can get lost in your day-to-day. Personally, I stepped back and I said, okay, we have 3 kids separated by age. There's only so many years that all the kids are gonna still be in school and be old enough to remember a vacation. That works out to about 7 or 8 years. I got about 7 or 8 summers to do something that the kids are gonna remember, something that brings us together. So about 7 years ago, I put the vision out for the family that said, we're gonna see what the United States has to offer. And that was it. Now I knew along the way, we'd be together as a side product, So side benefit of that, we're gonna do it together. So in the last 7 years, we've been to all 50 states in the United States.
That is impressive.
And about 47 national parks, forests, that type of thing. So
Wow.
Huge accomplishment, but that's not something you just go do. But it's the fact that it's been kind of spread over those 7 years is what's really made it good for the family and helped me find a bit of balance over the years.
Yeah, kind of going into that then, just curious, what would you say is some of the coolest places you've seen after seeing really all 50 states?
Yeah, I got to be careful, right? If I say the wrong one, somebody's like, wait, that's not my state. So I have a couple of examples. One, my biggest surprise, hands down, the whole family, it was Idaho. For some reason, I knew nothing about Idaho. I figured we'd go through that state. Oh, by the way, every state we had to do something that was substantial. Not just drive through or fly over. We had to do something. So I thought Idaho, we were gonna eat some potatoes. I mean, I didn't know what we were gonna do in Idaho. But we got there and right at the border, just beautiful. People were diving off this bridge. I don't remember the name of the bridge. Went up into the mountains, rented a little motorboat out on this lake. Idaho was just the standout surprise of our trips. Just beautiful. So the other one is the most awesome random happening. And this is what our family doesn't plan down to the day in every single motel. We just kind of allow the trip to take us where we're gonna go. But we had just stayed in Yellowstone National Park, and it was the 3rd of July, or the 4th of July, I'm sorry, when we came out. But we had no plans for what we were gonna do that night for the actual 4th of July. And as we were coming out, we stopped for breakfast and talked to a couple that was there, and they said, they do something over in Sheridan, Wyoming. That's a good celebration, and that's within a drive. So we went over, and the highway was backed up through the whole city, and everybody was getting off at one place. And it was these huge polo fields, and they had it down to an art, and they just all pulled in those polo fields, boom, 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 boom. They had multiple live country bands, and I do like country music, and a whole festival atmosphere, the largest, longest fireworks show I'd ever seen with the huge, Wyoming sky in the background. So that's my most awesome random happening.
That's amazing.
On a trip. But I mean, you can go through these, every year. There was a bunch of these. Of course, 47 national parks. I mean,
You're going to see a lot.
You're going to see a lot.
Well, that's wonderful. So, I mean, while maybe like for people starting off now, maybe hitting all 50 states might be ambitious, but you definitely recommend have a goal.
Yeah, some kind of goal. And again, I never said all 50. I mean, that wasn't the goal. It happened over the years.
Yeah.
But just, what do you want to see? See the world maybe? That wasn't mine. It was see the United States, or maybe just, see beaches, or, I don't know, something, but some kind of goal, whatever it is for you. I think it's important, and it kind of, it puts something out there that helps you focus and make sure that you're a little bit accountable for a long-term balance.
That's wonderful. It's definitely appreciated because, a lot of people, like I mentioned beforehand, may not even know where to start. So hearing amazing journeys like that, especially going to Idaho, which, funny enough, my dad's been interested in moving there, so I'll tell him it's amazing. So,
It was incredible.
And something else kind of going in more to your personal life, we heard a fun fact that you've worn a couple of uniforms throughout your life, that you've gone through BDUs, you got a suit now, but we've also known you've done a few different uniforms you've worn to the local Dayton community. So if you'd be able to go and kind of elaborate more on that and kind of talk about what you've done here in the area.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been here since 2007. I didn't grow up here or anything, but I've always looked for what else something to add to get involved in the community in addition to the work and the family, just to balance that out. And I've always been a big supporter of libraries. Greene County has a great library system, so I started getting involved with them and joined the Greene County Library Foundation Board. They're big supporters of child literacy. So a couple of uniforms. If you're ever down at the Bellbrook Parade, you might see Booker the Fox in the parade, and that's me. It has been for the last 7 years or so, and I don't know, you might see me jumping up and doing the splits, or you won't know it's me.
It's kind of like a liberating experience.
Yeah, it's a blast. I always tell people the funnest thing about doing that is, high-fiving the teenagers and then seeing them later when I'm not in costume, and they claim they never would have high-fived, Booker the Fox, because that's just too embarrassing. But that's one outfit. Another one that was kind of cool and related to the base here is Governor DeWine, when he was elected, had his inaugural event at the Air Force Museum. And his wife is also a big supporter of child literacy and was pushing the Dolly Parton, or not pushing, but advocating for the Dolly Parton Foundation, which I think she now has expanded statewide. But Greene County is where the Dolly Parton Foundation had started kind of getting a foothold in Ohio.
They provide books to children early in their life.
Yeah, they sign up, and then a child for the first, I think, 5 years of their life gets so many books a month. As part of Governor DeWine's inaugural event, the library wrote to the Dolly Parton Foundation, and they sent up a couple of costumes. I think you can tell where this is going. So I ended up being the Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Incredible.
And running around the Air Force Museum. One of the funny little things is Lieutenant General McMurray, the commander of the Life Cycle Management Center, and I used to work together. I worked for him when he was the lab commander. So I went up to him and told him who I was so he could hear my voice, and he got a kick out of that. So we did a big high five. So General McMurray's giving high five to the Very Hungry Caterpillar, and I think we were on the front page of the newspaper, maybe not with the high five, but
We have to find that.
image.
Yeah, seriously, that's a wonderful picture.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple different uniforms.
That's great. And so you kind of touched on it earlier, but I know you're really working with child literacy and helping people in the area, but what kind of got you to get into the costume? They just asked you one day and you were like,
Yeah.
let's do it?
Well, no, I was at the Bellbrook parade, and hopefully this this person will never hear this, but we were watching the parade, and the person wearing the Booker costume was not very happy being in the Booker costume, and it really showed. This poor young man, teenager, had been told he was going to do it whether he really wanted to or not, because they needed somebody, and he just walked down the street with his head hung low and hands dragging on the ground, not too happy about it. And I said, man, we got to be able to find somebody that can bring some energy to it. So I guess when you say that, it ends up being you.
Hey, that's wonderful.
No, I have a really good time with that.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining us on the podcast today, where we could learn about some of the great work your team's doing in the Human Performance Wing and some great work you're doing in the community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Make sure to follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at AF Research Lab. And remember, stay curious.
Logging off.